Hi there, my name is Tom Barton and I'm one of the co-founders of Honest Burgers, and I am the director of food. So anything you put in your mouth at Honest Burgers, I sign off on. So I did a business degree at Brighton University, and I did a 6-month placement in an office environment, and very quickly learned that wasn't the environment for me. So me and a mate who worked in a restaurant in Brighton, we decided to do something ourselves, and we put a very small amount of cash. We had about £5,000 between us, and we decided to go after the festival burger. That was our goal. Never thought we'd open a restaurant. And we bought a marquee, a grill and a fryer, and we set about to kind of change the festival scene, and our goal was to cook burgers at Glastonbury. And somehow we've ended up here where we are now a national burger brand. We've got 39 restaurants and nearly 1,000 people that work for us, and we sell about 4 million burgers a year. But it all kind of came from this drive for do something yourself, be super proud of it. And we'd always say in the early days, you know, would you serve that to your mother? And that was our real thing, you know, pride of place, and that kind of filters down through everything we do today. I can tell you about our failures and our mistakes because we've made a lot of them. We actually did a podcast a couple of years ago, and the first episode was Honest Mistakes. And we had to do 2 episodes because we couldn't fit it into the first one. But I think you have to own your mistakes, and that's not just in work, that's in career as well. I'm very proud of the mistakes we've made, and I always say to myself, and I say to other people at Honest, it's only a mistake if you make it twice. So we like to learn from them and move forward and own them, because you know you've got to be proud of everything you do, and you're not intentionally making mistakes. So if you do, you've just got to own it and move forward. But yeah, we've made a lot over the last sort of 14 years. I think for any sort of budding entrepreneur, and I use that word, I always feel like a bit of imposter syndrome when people say you're an entrepreneur, and I felt that for a long time. But I think one trait that is in entrepreneurs and people that own their own business is you generally don't have an off switch, and you sometimes just throw everything into something, which can be a huge strength. And my wife would probably say it could also be a huge weakness at times as well, because you just get kind of blinkered on things, which I very, very much believe I am that kind of mentality where you just go 110% at something, which is brilliant when you're looking to complete a task. But it's really, really hard when you've got to try and find perspective on things, how you grow things, when you've got other people's livelihoods on your business. It becomes very, very challenging. So for us, it's about integrity and pride. We always say that Honest is kind of an unvarnished business, which we love, because me and Phil and Dorian, the founders, we're all pretty unvarnished people. We're pretty straight talking, which I think you can see in our business. And that's one thing that is really important when you do something, is make it authentic to yourself. Don't try and do something that you think someone else wants to do. Do something that isn't authentic to you. Yeah, so obviously people are totally vital to any business. To a restaurant business, they are literally the bread and butter. That you can't run a restaurant without food, and you can't run a restaurant without people. One thing that I learned very, very quickly that was quite a kind of deep dose of humility is you need to be able to identify what you're not very good at and what other people are better than you at. And if you want to grow a business, if you can't do that, you'll never grow, because you'll be the busy fool who's trying to do everything, and you're a CEO, you're head of marketing, you're a maintenance guy. You will never grow a business if you behave like that. So you need to be humble, you need to be really reflective about what you're good at and what you're not so good at. So for us, finding people who are better at things than me, when I find someone like that and I realize it, it's the best. And I'm on it, I'm like, great, when can you start? But that's how you grow a successful business for sure. So yeah, I started Honest when I was 24, fresh out of university. I wasn't a very serious character. I drank too much, I didn't sleep very much, I didn't look after myself like a lot of sort of mid-20-year-olds. And then we got thrown into the deep end with Honest. And we realised we had an opportunity that we needed to grasp and we needed to kind of sweat. And my grandpa always said to me, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I really believe in that. And we worked our ass off to get to where we are today. But it took a lot of kind of quite serious conversations with each other, with myself, because I wasn't a mature enough candidate when we started Honest. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I wasn't someone who I felt was serious enough to grow a business to where it is today. And hospitality is rife with problems, you know, with people, with drinking, with drugs, with all sorts of things. So for me, Honest was a big dose for me to take my life more seriously. And as a result, I don't drink anymore. I try and look after myself. I try and sleep, although my son tries to do all he can to prevent that these days. But generally, it was one of those things where we had an opportunity and I needed to take life more seriously. And I had to do the things that I knew would help me get there and help the people that work for Honest. So yeah, big dose of humility. And I'm far from perfect, but I do feel a much more mature human being than I was sort of 12, 13 years ago when we started Honest. So sustainability for any business is super important for us because we have that word above our door that we take incredibly seriously, and it kind of filters down into everything we do. So when we first started to look at our imprint on the planet, and I'd be lying if I said that sustainability was even in our vocabulary when we first started Honest, because it just wasn't. But now, you know, we're a much more mature business. We realised that we need to be living up to our name. So this is what we've been trying to do. And there's things that, you know, all businesses need to focus on. For a food business, generally it's the food that you buy that you need to be aware of and try and learn as much of it as you can. And it's very difficult because as customers and consumers, we have a lot of power. We can ask questions, we can be inquisitive, and we can find out things that restaurants might not want us to find out, or even worse, they might not even know themselves. For Honest, we're trying to be as transparent as possible, show everyone what we do, show everyone that the areas we need to improve upon, and show everyone the things that we're actually really good at doing. So for us, it's our beef, and as a result, we've worked on a project called Honest Farming, where we are trying to tackle our carbon emissions head on. We're working with a network of regenerative farmers, which is something that's really exciting. And in a nutshell, it's farming the way we used to farm 100 years ago. So before we became overly reliant on chemical inputs like fertilizers and pesticides, farming how we used to, working with nature, it makes so much sense. Even for a layman, when I first looked at this, it was just like, yeah, of course, why aren't we doing that? So yeah, all of us, for us as a business, it's about how we try and live up to our name, which, you know, sits proudly above our door.